Hey guys, Cyre here. I've noticed a lot of people looking for pointers in the Telekinetics Sage DPS rotation. I'm here to give you a small video about how to get great DPS with high mobility and burst without a huge amount of difficulty. Now, some great things about the Telekinetics Sage DPS is that not only is it bursty and mobile as well as ranged, it also transfers very well from a dummy rotation to an ops boss rotation, since most of your attacks are either instant, very quick, or can be used on the move. Let's take a look at my gear. Overall, the gear is pretty bad. It's all 192 comm gear, which emphasizes endurance first, but I do have high accuracy at 110.15%. It's a little bit over, but we do want to have our force accuracy at 110% so that we do not miss any of our attacks. We'll go over the live rotation first and then slow it down. We start with Mind Crush, go into a weakened mind, Turbulence, Telekinetic Wave, Telekinetic Burst, and Telekinetic Gust. We start with Mind Crush to debuff the target and add some DPS. Weakened Mind stays up as our main dot, which will always proc Turbulence, which will become an instant crit. This makes our Telekinetic Wave instant. We then follow with a Telekinetic Burst and a Telekinetic Gust. Those, in essence, are the only attacks we're going to be using in this rotation. As you can see here, I use a couple of offensive cooldowns. First, I use Mental Alacrity, and then Force Potency. Mental Alacrity speeds up every attack we have, while Force Potency gives us almost guaranteed criticals on our next two attacks. You'll notice that whenever I can't use any of the other attacks, I fill my time using Telekinetic Burst over and over. This is better than any of the alternatives other than Mind Crush. Here we have a graphic of all of the pairs of attacks that we'll be using in the rotation. If you can use pair 1, use it. If not, use pair 2, then pair 3. You'll be spamming a lot of Telekinetic Burst when Mind Crush isn't available. The rest of the video is me trying to finish off this 1 mil dummy. As you can see, I never leave any room in between any of the attacks. This is crucial in any kind of DPS rotation. This is what separates mediocre from the best DPS. If you're able to use every bit of your time using skills or attacks, then your DPS will be very high, no matter what you're doing. Being able to juggle both your rotation, time management, and an ops boss's certain mechanics will set you above the rest in DPS. You'll notice that whenever I can in this rotation, I replace Telekinetic Burst with Mind Crush. This not only refreshes the debuff, but also actually adds more DPS than just a single Telekinetic Burst. Here again I use both of my offensive cooldowns, Force Potency and Mental Alacrity. This again will speed up my rotation, as well as give me a couple of instant crits. As an advanced tactic, make sure you don't use Force Potency with Turbulence, as Turbulence is an automatic crit already, and will use up one of your charges. You'll notice that on my quick bar I have a lot of things I actually don't use in a rotation. This is because I usually heal and I didn't want to switch everything around. But some of those attacks include Project, Disturbance, and Telekinetic Throw. Those you will almost never use in your rotation. We also have Force Wave, which is a pushback, and Force Quake, which is an AoE. We only use Force Quake when there are 3 or more targets in the area that it will affect. Otherwise, we can be better using our time with a single target rotation. We want to be careful not to use Telekinetic Wave after anything but Turbulence. You'll see that it procs sometimes after using Telekinetic Burst, but we don't want to use it then because it'll go out of sync with our rotation. One thing I forget to show you is that after using Force Speed, it will proc Telekinetic Burst and making it instant. This is great for mobility or when chasing a boss around, because then you don't have to sit and let it channel. Here's that graphic again so that you can pay attention to it and watch the different pairs be used in the rotation. I don't show you any utilities in this video, because ultimately they're not very important in your DPS rotation and won't affect how much damage you do. The only exception to this is the skillful utility, Tectonic Mastery, which will improve your Forcequake damage by 25%. This is great for certain fights like Commanders and Temple of Sacrifice that have lots of ads coming out all the time, but otherwise it's almost useless for our single target rotation. I mess up a little bit here, and instead of using Mind Crush, use Telekinetic Burst a couple times. There's a reason for that though, and that's because I wanted to use the Force Potency charges to get criticals on something that wasn't a dot. The video cuts here for some reason, but we finish off the dummy with about a 3.9k DPS. That's pretty good for someone with no gear or set bonus. And that concludes our Sage Telekinetics DPS video. If you have any questions or want some hands-on pointers, feel free to PM me or any of the leaders of the guild, and we'll be happy to help you out.